All right, then I need to push the button. Are you ready?
Yes. Let me
No,
seatbelt on.
exactly. All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Tahona Society Welfare Talks by Altos Tequila. Today's topic is building a healthier, happier hospitality industry. My name is Simon Kistenfeger, and I'm your global brand ambassador for Altos Tequila. And in today's session, I am having a great human being as a guest, who is also one of the top in the hospitality scene. And yeah, we will have a probably tough view on hospitality today. For me, you are a shining star in the hospitality world as you open the door on a different view, which is, in my opinion, very, very important. Yeah, on things. You inspired many bartenders, and lots of them 100% can rely on your experience and learn from it. And I'm definitely one of them. I will come back later to that topic. So yeah, the ones who know him, they are aware that you are always.
Are you talking to someone else, or are you talking?
No, brother, it's the pure talk. But the ones who know you, they know that you are not sugarcoating anything. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I admire you, brother. And yeah, thanks for being our guest today, Tim Judge. Should I actually? I always struggle.
Yeah, go on, give it a go. Give it a go.
Tim Etherington-Judge. Yeah. So I have to ask you: Do you like to have the middle name in or not? Like,
yeah. So a bit of explanation as to why I have such a ludicrous name. In the UK, like having a double-barreled surname is like supposed to be a posh thing, but for me, so Etherington is my mother's maiden name, and Judge is my father's name. So when my mother passed away in 2005, I took her maiden name as for me, it was very important because I was very close to my mom. So I took her maiden name as a memory for my mother.
Right, cool.
Yeah, so it's personally very important to me because it kind of keeps my mother's name alive, and like every day I go through life, I kind of treat each day as an inspiration to my mother, you know, and I'm always thinking about her and trying to do the best that I can, and in her name.
Lovely. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for taking your precious time.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
First of all, hope you're doing well during these strange times.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, right? I think for everybody, you know, even for me, it's been up and down. You know, it's been a year now since most of us went into lockdown or some sort of restrictions for the pandemic, whether, you know, the forced closure of our industry, you know, quarantining. It's been difficult, like really difficult for people in a number of ways. You know, there have been so many new challenges that we've all had to deal with.
Totally.
Yeah. Dream of losing friends and family, through to our businesses being closed down, through to the, you know, forced disconnection. So we've lost one of the elements that is vital for good health and happiness, which is human connection.
Totally.
You know, and then on top of that, we've got the COVID anxiety of this killer virus running around the world. Super challenging for everybody.
Totally. I will come back to that in a bit as well.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, we don't like, we will go with the flow, brother. But I will start also quite heavy in this talk, Tim, because you were working as a global brand ambassador back in the days as well. And you had like a massive breakdown in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, correct. November the 8th, 2016.
Yeah, and yeah, you know, for many, this job looks like the dream come true, like sipping and dining out in the best bars and restaurants in the world. But you know, you experienced the downside. Like, can you give us like a touch what happened? And
of course, it's you know, being a global brand ambassador is like any job. You know, it has its ups, its highs, and its great things about it, and also its lows and its difficulties. And that's no different to whether you know any job you do, whether you work in a call center, you work in a factory, you're a Formula One driver. or you're a global brand ambassador. And I'd done the job for being an ambassador for about 6 years.
Wow.
And doing that job that you talk about, flying around the world and drinking in the best bars and eating in great restaurants and drinking for a living. But when you're traveling for 250 days of the year, and you're doing 100 plus flights a year, it takes a toll. And that's extreme by anyone's standards, and it does take a toll. Your sleep is disrupted because you're constantly jet lagged. Your nutrition is terrible because you're always eating restaurant food or room service or grabbing food on the go. The loneliness can get really bad, even though you're kind of constantly with people. You're constantly in social environments. You're always with new people, so you're always having to make these little micro friendships.
Right.
And you miss out on what we really need as humans is that deep connection. There's that small circle of really close friends that you see often. So that all disappears, and then the exercise kind of can fall away very quickly because you're tired and jet lag, so you're not motivated to go and do some exercise. And then obviously there's the drinking on top of that, and it really got to me. So for me, what led up to that moment in a hotel room in Athens was an extreme amount of travel. It was my busiest year ever with travel. And then also there was a change of team within the company. So what had been that support network holding me up, which was a group of really close people looking out for each other,
right,
all got taken away through a corporate restructure. So that was the kind of the safety net that was holding me up. Right. And once that had disappeared, I fell very quickly. And it culminated in a hotel room at the Athens Bar Show with me trying to take my own life because I lost hope. I couldn't see any hope for the future. I saw that this is how it was and it wasn't going to change.
Right.
And nothing would ever get better. And it was that extreme loss of hopelessness that led me to attempt to take my own life.
Wow. So yeah, to switch it, like nowadays you're running the probably most known non-profit organization in the bartending or / hospitality world. Where you dream of a healthier, happier hospitality industry. Would you please be so kind to get us an overview of the things for the guys who don't know what you have been doing? Like I know, for example, you have been with us at the Tahona Society event in Helsinki, Finland.
Yes.
I have been taking part of other like really inspirational talks of you around the world where I personally learned so much from you. Like,
thank you. Well, let's go back to what happened.
Right.
So it was kind of coming out of that my attempted suicide and opening up and talking publicly about my struggles, both with my personal mental health. I was first diagnosed with depression at the age of 16. So it's something that I've always had to battle. So talking about that and also about the industry and the way that it had led me to this situation. I hadn't managed the situation very well. I had let everything get on top of me and I got caught up in the whole lifestyle. But when I started to talk publicly about it, what I found was that I got hundreds and hundreds of private messages from people who were telling me their stories. It's like,
right.
As soon as it was like opening the box, and as soon as people had seen me talking about it publicly, they felt it was okay to talk to me about their problems.
Right.
And it just made me realize that there was a lot of people who had similar experiences to me. Maybe not quite as extreme, some more extreme, but there were a lot of people struggling, and yet there wasn't really anyone in the industry talking about this. There was no organizations trying to change the conversation around health and wellness, providing support or training about it. So it just left me thinking that if I know that all of these people are struggling, there's not really anything happening about it. We're just brushing it under the carpet and using phrases like, "Oh, man up," and cheer up, just have another shot, and just kind of avoiding the reality of the situation, and just by having more drinking or just ignoring it or trying to be macho. just left me thinking that if I know so many people are struggling, what kind of man would I be if I just turn my back on the industry and I don't try and help, and I don't try and make something to help these people, to make the better situation, and create a company to try and make sure that people don't reach that situation that I did. And that was the seed that gave birth to Healthy Hospo.
Amazing.
So like a lot of people, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
Like, I'm a brand ambassador. What do I know about health and wellness? Nothing. But I knew I wanted to start something. So, and I think that for me is the key thing. What I've learned now from starting 3 businesses is that the most difficult part of having a business is the starting, of just having the balls to go like, let's just do it.
Yeah, the anxiety, like that you can fail, or I don't know. That's a big part, I think, in modern world, that we always feel like there's the anxiety that we fail, but in the end, it's part of the whole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there is definitely a vulnerability of you putting something out there and going like, this is something that I've created and something that I've dreamt about, and I'm going to put it out there and see what the world thinks. There's a vulnerability to that. So I started. So Healthy Hospo officially launched in November 2017. Was when we incorporated, but we had our first event in January 2018, which is what we call a wellness workshop. So we invited people from all over Europe to come to what I believe was the very first health and wellness conference for the hospitality or for the drinks industry.
Totally. I think so as well. Like when I heard you putting that out, I was like super glad that someone, and really that's why I appreciate you and admire your actions towards a better healthy hospital, because you are the first one, in my opinion, who did it on a big scale, and it takes a lot of guts to do it, as you say, to break out and tell the world, and you help hundreds of thousands of bartenders with it, for sure.
That's the dream. Our dream and our mission is to build a healthier, happier hospitality industry. My dream is that there'll be no need for healthy hospo. If we can reach a point where there's no need for our services, then we've done our job.
Right.
And everything is going to be great, which is that's the dream. So we provide health and wellness training services for the hospitality industry. So we don't just look at the bar industry. We also work with restaurants, hotels, cafes, anyone that works or touches the hospitality industry. So we do a lot of work with brands as well. Essentially, anyone that wants our help or could do with our help, we won't turn anyone away. And we provide training across a wide variety of subjects. So we take a very holistic view of health and wellness and preventative. So we believe that it's much better to avoid the problems than wait for the problems to arise and then deal with them.
Amazing.
So we talk about sleep, we talk about food, we talk about exercise, we talk about human connection, which is something that's very important right now. We talk about financial health. So obviously the industry is the lowest paid industry in the world. So there's a lot of financial stress that comes with that. So we talk about that. We talk about business management. So trying to show business owners and managers that health and wellness is one of the best investments they can make in their business. For me, I was always taught, and our old friend Gaz Regan was a great advocate of this, God rest his soul. Although maybe God is now cursing because Gaz will be up there drinking and causing carnage. Gaz could. But Gaz always said that the job of a bartender is not to make drinks. It's to make sure that everybody that comes into the bar leaves happier than when they arrived. And for me, that's the definition of hospitality, right? It's we use food and drink as a tool to make sure people have amazing experiences and have a good time, because that's why they come to our bars. They don't come to our bars to get drinks because they can go to the supermarket and buy drinks and they can order them at home now. they come there because they want that hospitality and that beautiful experience.
Yeah. Which is sometimes also like the challenge, because we put so much effort to make our guest or please our manager or whoever, that we sometimes forget our own health, right? So this
Yeah,
is
exactly.
like, yeah.
Or we spend too much time obsessing over malolactic fermentation or the hemicellulose content of American oak barrels versus limousine oak. And we forget that the single most important part of our job is making customers happy.
Right.
The only way we can make customers happy, well, the best way to make customers happy is if we are in a situation of health and happiness ourselves.
Totally.
You know, if we
I love that you mentioned that, but because like it's mind blowing that some bartenders, they do amazing drinks, as you say, like they barrel age whatsoever, but the fundamental things they don't know, like about the nutritions, about how to cook themselves, and this is really mind blowing for me sometimes. Or how much sugar is in a vermouth or in a whatever. Like I'm just making.
I think this is probably going to be quite controversial. But I think that the golden age of cocktails and bars that we were going through before COVID has not been great for hospitality, because what it's done is it's switched the focus onto the bartender. So now the bartender thinks that they are the most important person, and it's become all about the bartender and the cocktails the bartender makes and how much the bartender knows. And we've forgotten that the bartender is the least important person in the bar. The guests are the most important person in the room, and that's everything should be focused on them. I'm not saying that the guest is always right, because quite often the guests are wrong, and we need to break that myth as well. But when we spend all of our focus on the cocktails and the recipes and the knowledge, and we forget about the customer experience and being able to have conversations with customers and being able to make customers feel special. And some of the really great bartenders, people like Eric Lawrence and Ago de Connaught, you know, these bartenders, and Julio over at Tommy's, who is the single greatest host in the history of my experience in hospitality. You know?
He's amazing.
Tommy's Mexican bar and restaurant is one of the very few bars in the world that I would travel across the world to go and visit. And it's not because the drinks are great or the food is great, because you only really have one cocktail in there, right? You don't go in there, can I have a martini, please, Julio? You know, and I can have a Tommy's margarita anywhere. You know, I can go to London or almost any bar in the country and order them now. It's become so popular. But when you go into Tommy's and Julio is behind the bar, you will have one of the most incredible bar experiences you can have anywhere on the planet. You know, and it's the same with the boys at La Factoria in Puerto Rico.
Right.
You know, and it's these bars. It's not the drink. I don't go there for the drinks. I go there for how those places make me feel, and it's all down to that amazing hospitality.
Totally agree with you, 100%. Yeah, if you know these guys, like, or if you're in Puerto Rico, if you have the chance to visit all these venues you just mentioned, go there, because I totally back that up. They're like amazing hosts. I have been with them behind the sticks, and yeah, it's the experience, as you mentioned, and we have to. I agree with you, like, and I like it's gives us like hope for the future also, because we have to change our view.
Yeah, I think so. I think the good thing, you know, if we can take any positives out of the COVID situation and the pandemic, is that it's the understanding and the realization of just how important hospitality is to society. Because if you look at the lists of, you know, when they do surveys about what are the things that the public are most looking forward to at the ends of lockdowns, it's always like seeing friends, seeing family, and usually number 3 or 4 is going to a bar and restaurant.
Absolutely, 100%.
People more than anything else, apart from kind of seeing friends and family, have missed hospitality, because hospitality is not, you know, it's where people come to communicate and have that human interaction. So I'm really hopeful that as we come out of this, you know, and put the pandemic behind us, there's this new realization of just how vital hospitality is to a thriving society. You you know, and hospitality is given that recognition and importance, you know, because it's far more important than many other parts of, you know, jobs, and like hedge fund managers or Wall Street bankers, you know, not providing really any services to society.
Absolutely.
Yet hospitality has been an industry that's been there as long as civilization has been there, maybe even before civilization.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm totally agreeing here with you. Talking about the future and like how are you guys with Healthy Hospo dealing with the current pandemic situation? I think I saw on my pre-research like that you guys doing some webinars, online activities. Also, which is linked to that, do you see a risk of digitalization, like, you know, the internet shaming, time waste, whatever, losing the real social contacts?
Yep. It's been very challenging, right? Because we've been thrust from like regular, normal functioning society into everything being digital, and we've seen it evolve since, you know, when particularly here in Europe, right? When the pandemic first came to Europe and we saw everything shut down immediately, and then everyone's response was to put everything on digital, you know, so every day you would log on and they'd be like, today we have 427 different digital events going on.
Oversupply, 100%.
Yeah, like every day there was so much, and it just became very overwhelming, and people had digital burnout, you know. After a couple of months of that, people were like, and you saw attendances just go like this. And then, you know, and it's been pretty consistently low ever since. But I think now people are starting to produce better digital experiences. You know, so everyone's upping their game and trying to do something a bit better.
I mean, you guys are a really good example, in my opinion. Sorry for jumping in, but for how the digital thing is very well executed. If I see your homepage, you know, it's very structured. It's nice. You had a thought behind it, and that's what I think. What you're mentioning, that people or friends whatsoever that just started it and without the long-term thing.
Because when it comes to digital, there's lots of upsides to it, right? It means that we can do things like this, and you can be where you are, and I can be where I am, and we can have this conversation, and then we can put it out into the world, and people all over the world can watch our conversation and maybe learn something from it. You know? And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, and we've just launched an app. Last year we launched an app with Healthy Hospo, and we put all of our training material that we would normally do in person.
Amazing.
Into a digital
also, guys, whoever is watching this, look up the webpage of the Healthy Hospo, the social media platforms. I think you guys really, I don't see any other platform which is like for the hospitality, which is kind of close to you guys. So yeah, really well done, and it's such it's such a gain for the hospitality industry, in my opinion.
Thank you. There's a few out there now, but most of them are just solely focused on mental health, which is great. You know, we need a lot of focus on mental health, but we take a much more holistic view. But going back to digital, you know, there are a lot of upsides of digital. The fact that our training can now be viewed by bartenders all over the world.
Yep.
From Guadalajara to Wellington in New Zealand to, you know, Outer Mongolia. If you've got an internet connection, you can see our training, and that's fantastic. Because before, you'd have to wait for us to kind of turn up in person to do a training, which means that we're very limited to who can actually access our training material. So that's a fantastic side of digital.
Love it.
The fact that we can stay in contact with each other and you can see friends and family all over the world, particularly important during the COVID pandemic.
Love it.
But you're right, there's lots of really dark sides to social media, and a lot of it comes down to the fact
I had this picture like with me, and I loved it. I saw it today, and I was like, cool. I have to bring it to this talk.
This is a perfect photo, because when we talk about digital and social, particularly social media, I always ask people the question when we're in a room with an audience. If you ask people the question, what is Facebook's product? What does Facebook sell? And everyone's like, well, they sell advertising, or they sell marketing. No. What Facebook are selling is your time.
Exactly.
That is their product. That is what they sell to other people. And that they do everything they can to make sure you are on that platform. We also have another graph that we use that shows the amount of time that people spend staring at a screen.
Right.
You might have seen this one. So in 2007, it shows like the average day of an average person being very average, just very, very average, right? So 9 hours of that is work and commuting to work. 8 hours of that is sleeping. Some time of that is what they call just life chores. So like eating, doing your laundry, washing, showering, that kind of stuff. And then the rest is free time. And then the free time is broken up into time spent staring at a screen and time spent not staring at a screen.
Right.
So in 2007, the majority of time, your free time, is spent not staring at a screen. Okay. What happened in 2007? The iPhone was launched. Then you roll forward to the chart to 2017, when phones have become very sophisticated. You can watch TV on them. You can do video calling. You can do all sorts of amazing stuff on our phones now. And that little chart, that little part of screen time has gone from being a minority to over 90% of our free time is spent staring at a screen.
Crazy.
And we've put aside our hobbies, the things that we used to enjoy. We've put down learning. We've put down going out in nature. We've put aside spending time with friends. We've put aside living so we can stare at a screen because Facebook wants us to, because Twitter wants us to, because YouTube wants us to.
It's nuts, like to see that nowadays I have friends, they travel to a certain destination just to take a picture to collect likes. Like, I don't get it. That's why I think you are a really good example, like, because you put up very upright content, and I think you understood that that one, even if you have just one like, but this like helps someone, is worth way more than like a picture where we are in the gym lifting weights whatsoever, or on a dream beach collecting 1,000 likes. So I really
exactly. My favorite one, I love music. I grew up, my dad was a DJ, and I grew up in a house full of music. So music is a really important part of my life. And then the one thing that drives me mad and fills me with like just despair for the human race is when you go to a concert.
Right.
And you see everyone at the concert like why are you watching the concert through a tiny screen on your phone when it's right in front of you?
Exactly. Like, enjoy it. Yeah. It's
it's not like you're going to go home and watch that over again or publish it or do anything with it. Like, if you're at a big concert, someone's filming it anyway. So if you want to watch it again, it's probably going to be on YouTube at some point.
Right.
Just enjoy the moment. Stop trying to record everything and just enjoy it.
Guys, listen to Tim. Like, it is how it is. Like, really get it into your mind and don't waste your time. Our time is so limited on Earth, so you never know what happens tomorrow. Why we going to a concert for someone else? Like, put yourself in front. I would say that's the way to go.
Yeah, live in the moment. And then the other thing that's really important for me in social media is that you touched on it earlier, is the kind of the bullying and the dark and nasty side of social media. And there is a lot of that, and I think it comes down to a big part of that is that there's no repercussions for what you say on social media.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I'm standing in front of you, we're in the same room, and I insult you or I say something nasty to you, there are repercussions for me. Like, if I upset you enough, you might punch me in the face. Yeah. Or you can get angry with me, and then I have to deal with that social situation, which is very uncomfortable. But if I'm tapping away on my keyboard, there's absolutely no repercussions. Exactly. I can say whatever I want. Yeah. Nothing will happen.
You might even create an account which is not even your own profile pic. So it's and that's because there's no repercussions, that leads people to really engage in their dark sides when they normally wouldn't. Totally. So I always fall back to a piece of advice that my mum gave me, which was always
if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
I love it.
Social media can be an amazing tool.
Yes.
It really, really can. But only when we use it for positivity can it be that amazing tool. So, let's use it and let's post really nice stuff, post positive things. Let's use it to lift people up. Let's use it to educate people. Let's use it to make people feel good. And let's use it to spread love and compassion around the world, because then it becomes one of the most powerful tools that we've ever created.
Amazing.
Rather than this dark, horrible tool that promotes racism and violence and sexual abuse and has given us people like Donald Trump in the White House, and Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil.
Right.
Let's take the power away from that and use social media for good, because it can be this incredible tool.
Totally, absolutely. If you follow the right guys, and again, I really invite everyone to follow you guys with Healthy Hospo, because it's such a wonderful platform. As you say, you spread love, and you can feel it is like an honest content. And it is how it is truly. And I learned also, like one thing, because you mentioned it with sleep and the caffeine part. I remember that, and really, it's stuck. It comes to my head every time I get tempted to drink like a espresso, a coffee after 7 or 8, depending when I'm gonna go to bed. It is you who's stuck in my mind, who says, "Hey, caffeine. How long is it actually in your body?" And such an important point. And so you help me, and I know you help hundreds of other bartenders with spreading your knowledge, and that's the way to go. So sleep. I remember you had like this amazing book recommendation.
Yeah, so there's 2 books that I recommend for sleep. The first one is called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. It's very popular as a New York Times bestseller. Matthew Walker is one of the world's leading sleep experts from the University of Berkeley, California. So amazing book, teaching you all about why we sleep. We used to think that sleep was literally something we did because it got dark and it's more difficult to live when we're dark, so we just go to sleep. And yet the truth is that every animal on the planet that we've ever studied, from the blue whale to the tiny mosquito, sleeps.
Right.
Sleep is actually a recovery process that's as vital to life on Earth as eating and breathing. If we don't sleep, we die. And there are cases of extreme insomnia where people have died because of a lack of sleep.
Right.
When we sleep, our brains clean out the toxic materials from our brains. It gives us heart medication. It helps us fight cancer. It helps our muscles recover. All sorts of stuff goes on. And Matthew Walker's book teaches you all of the science about what happens when we sleep, why it's so important.
Amazing.
And then the second book I recommend to follow up with that is simply called Sleep, by a man called Nick Littlehales, who's actually the Healthy Hospo sleep coach. So he writes all of our training material. And Nick is really great because he is the sleep coach to some of the world's elite athletes. So, and has worked with some little known sports teams that you might have heard of, particularly if you like football, like Manchester United.
Exactly. Cristiano Ronaldo, I think it was. So I actually got this book after you recommended it, and I loved it. I was reading it within, I think, a week. Like I was in Bolivia. I could not lay it down, and I think I passed it to Dre Masso now.
Cool.
And it was one of the best books on this topic, I believe.
Yeah, it's the reason I think it's so good for people in hospitality, and why I recommend it is because Nick works with elite athletes. Elite athletes have a very disrupted schedule, just like hospitality. We don't work 9 to 5. We don't work regular hours. The shifts are constantly changing. Quite often, you don't know what shift you're working next week. You do an open and then a close and then another close and then 2 opens. So you're constantly in this disrupted system, just like professional athletes.
Right. Agree.
So Nick's sleep training is all based around people that have disrupted lifestyles. So it works perfectly for hospitality. Whereas if you go and read a book by a regular sleep coach, it'll probably be written for regular people. So it's like, go to sleep at 10 o'clock every night, get up at 6 o'clock, get up at the same time every morning. And you're like, that doesn't work. Because I don't know when I can get up and, when I finish work next week. So Nick's book's really, really good. So it's all built around cycles and that 90-minute sleep cycle that we go through.
Yep. No, it's an amazing book and really helped me in so many ways. And I understood it because it's also written in a very simple way that you can really follow up with everything and rely to it, really.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on sleep, because sleep is the foundation of good health.
Yeah, and you also mentioned like the muscle repairing, which is another thing I want to touch with you, because you, my friend, I know for a fact that you love running, and me on the other hand side, I love boxing since I was like 7.
I've seen you and Meg's boxing.
Yeah, actually I brought when I was living in Colombia, I introduced Dre, and then Dre introduced Next to amazing boxing gym, and they started it.
Hard.
It is so hard because mentally you have to be fit, but also physically
I describe boxing as it's a combination of trying to run a marathon whilst playing chess and someone punching you in the face at the same time.
Yeah.
Really hard.
It builds up.
I don't think people that haven't done it don't realize just how difficult it is.
Totally.
Like running is easy. Like running is just putting one foot in front of another repeatedly. It's super easy in comparison.
Yeah, 100%. I have a friend who is a professional soccer player, and I brought him to boxing, and he was like very confident because he's a professional soccer player. But no way. After like half an hour, he was like, "Okay, this is totally different. Like all the muscles, the mental stuff." He was like, "Wow." But also like in sports in general, they make us happy, and
exactly. I always say that sport or exercise, and it doesn't have to be sport. It can be like going for a long walk in the countryside. Exercise for the brain.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exercise is as good for the brain as it is for the body, and that's the key thing to remember. And actually, walking is the best form of exercise that we can do.
Right. And what is your motivation to keep yourself up? I have that sometimes this phase when I'm like tired and I don't want to go this extra mile. I mean, what is your motivation to get up? And
I'm not always motivated. I'm not always, like, often it's a real struggle. Like the last 4 months, I've really struggled to do any exercise. Really struggle.
I can relate to it. I just got back to it, and then I'm super motivated. There's not a real formula, I guess.
No, there's not. And sometimes you just have to get out and do it. I think what helps is setting yourself targets and goals, like having something to train for, having a reason to go and do exercise. So saying, right, if you're boxing, saying, right, I'm going to have a fight, or I want to reach this level of sparring, or whatever those goals are. And I don't really know because I don't do boxing, but whatever those goals are, like for me, running is setting either time targets or more often now it's distance targets or races. Cycling is, you can't really see it, but I've got my bikes here. Cycling is my first love.
Nice. There you go. Amazing.
For me, so cycling is what I really enjoy, and I've been doing it since I was a small boy.
Also, I know the nutritional intake, it's super important. I don't know, are you still on a vegetarian diet? Amazing. No?
Vegan. I'm hardcore.
Vegan even, yeah, nice. I'm getting back to vegan now. Like after Mexico, it was just too much, and I feel already after now it's week 3, and I'm so much more energetic. Like
I would, for me, like nutrition is very personal. I have followed a vegan diet for 22 years now, and that's not for anything to do with nutrition. It's all to do with environmental sustainability reasons. I remember going to a talk, and the guy giving the talk said that if you really care about the environment, then you have to stop eating animal products. And this was like over 20 years ago. Before this, amazing vegan trend took over the world. Like
Right.
it's amazing. Like 22 years ago when I started, and you go out to a restaurant and they'd be like, "You're a what? What does that mean? What is that? I'm like, is that a religion? I don't understand." And then they would come back and you get like a bowl of chips or fries
Yeah.
and a salad of iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumber, and you'd be like, "Oh, I guess this is balanced." And now you go out, you go to any city now, and vegan is the hot trend word in restaurants. You can't go anywhere in London without seeing the word vegan slapped onto every fast food takeaway and restaurant. It's
even in a city like, yeah, even in a city like my city is a tourist city, basically very medieval in the south of Germany called Rothenburg. We have like in regular times we have I think 10 times the visitors than the population is, and it was all about meat, like the knuckles whatsoever. And even now you see it on the menus that they are switching. Like my bar is in the middle of the center and we are completely plant-based, which in the beginning we got a lot of shit from the locals. They said, "Wow, what the fuck? Why you don't do tapas with meat and that?" And I'm like, no way, because I don't want it. I don't want to create death. It's a morals or ethics thing. So as you mentioned.
Yeah. And as long as it tastes good, right? Like if they go, "Oh, why isn't it meat?" It's just taste it, and does it taste delicious? It's like, yeah, it's really nice. It's like, so just eat it.
Yeah, exactly. I had situations like we doing vegan cakes, for the coffee, and I had like I remember very well. Like I had this guest, and they were like, I was introducing them to our cake selection, and they were like, "Oh no," and I mentioned the word vegan. He was like, "No, then I don't want it. I want this other cake, whatever it was a cheesecake." And I didn't mention that it is vegan because it's like, okay, just try it. And he was like, that was one of the best cakes he ever had. I'm like, okay, don't be a dick on that word vegan. It can be delicious. You can recreate all flavors you want nowadays if you're creative.
Almost anything. There are a few things that still, I know, but that's also the problem, that we're trying to create non-vegan foods with vegan ingredients, which is I not necessarily agree with. I see the purpose of it, and there's a place for it. That not everyone will be like me.
Yeah.
That gives just eats vegetables. There are people that still will find it very hard to kind of go to that point, like, this is going to be my last burger, or this will be my last sausage. Having those meat substitutes, or cheese substitutes, is important.
Like all the processed food, you mean, right? Like it's true. You can recreate it, like a burger with black beans, and you do it. You need to have more time, obviously, but I don't understand why we don't put more time in our body, which sums it up, like the whole talk we just have, right?
Yeah, there's a great, I think it was Mary Wigmore quote that I love. Food is either our greatest source of medicine or our slowest form of poison. And we quite often choose to poison ourselves. But I'm not telling, we must be clear here that we're not telling anyone to go vegan.
No, totally.
Food is very personal. You need to make your own journey to find out what works for you.
Right. But the awareness, I think it's about that everyone should be aware what we take, where does the food even come from, like I like to go out in the nature, and I could eat, or I could survive only in the nature, but sometimes I'm going with friends and I'm telling them the different herbs, and they're like, "What, are you sure you can eat?" Like, we lose a bit of the knowledge which helps us to survive, and this also helps me. And as you say, I'm not trying to convince anyone, but it helps me to get rid of some of the anxiety, as I know I'm free, and this helps. So it's
and there's edible things everywhere we go. So my favorite advice when it comes to food, it comes from Michael Pollan, who's a very famous author, wrote some amazing books about food, like The Omnivore's Dilemma, and In Defense of Food.
Yep.
And there's just a little quote that in one of his books is, the key to healthy eating is to eat good food, not too much, mostly plants.
Nice. He has also a Netflix series, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great Netflix series, and I love that quote because it's so true.
It's so true. You know, it's don't go vegan, don't cut out meat, maybe cut out fish because fish is really really bad for the environment. And
Yeah.
if you've seen the new Netflix documentary, Seas Piracy,
Yes, and from that moment, I didn't touch any fish anymore. It's
you know, but you can still eat seafood. You know, but you need to modify. Like, if you want to eat seafood, the seafood that you can have a positive impact on the environment through eating seafood, but you need to eat jellyfish or you need to eat sea urchins because these are the populations that have exploded because they have we've eaten their predators, right? We've eaten all the fish
right.
who predate and keep their numbers in check. So the ocean is now full of jellyfish.
Yes.
So we need to start eating jellyfish. So then the fish can then kind of hopefully return. But I don't know if people want to eat jellyfish.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've got a great texture, but it's just about making smart choices and trying to kind of restore that balance.
Totally. Which I'm going back now to the hospitality scene on my last point. What do you think will be the future of our industry? You know, will there more competitions like the Tahona Society, which was created to help bartenders to change their view with sustainability, environmental issues? Do you think there will be more of these proper competitions and not just greenwashing? I'm talking about like a proper call.
I think the days of brands, you know, and I'm also a brand owner now with my own brand. The days of brands just thinking that they must do competitions is over, right? Competitions will not go away, and there is definitely a place for competitions, and Tahona Society is an amazing competition. You know, it found a unique way of doing it that had a really positive impact, that dreamt of a better future and enabled bartenders with great ideas to follow those ideas. You know, gave them that opportunity. Super awesome. And I hope more brands do that. I also hope, and I've seen this firsthand, you know, since we launched Healthy Hospo, more brands looking at bartender engagement in a different way. So, you know, rather than going, oh, we need to engage bartenders, so we're going to take them to a restaurant and get them drunk, or we're going to throw a party for them, or we'll take them to the distillery and get them drunk. You know, instead we're focusing on health and wellness programs. So like, we're going to take them cycling, or we're going to take them running, or we're going to take them away to a health retreat, or, you know, we're going to give them some sustainability training. Engaging people in that, you know, what better way to show bartenders that you really care about them than looking after their health, rather than just giving them a hangover, you know, or giving them a grant so that enables them to engage in one of their creative pursuits, or giving them a grant to help them with that really amazing idea that might change the industry. You know, just giving them that little bit of money they need to be able to revolutionize the industry.
Right.
Or to, you know, not maybe even revolutionize, but just to make the industry that little better place.
Right.
So I think that will be really great. And I think, you know, sustainability is going to be a big thing for brands going forward. You know, it's Earth Day on the 22nd. And we'll see a lot of brands using that as a platform to publish new sustainability initiatives that they're doing, which is fantastic.
Right.
And I really hope that they engage with the bars and we work together to reduce our impact on the planet. So I think there's loads of really interesting and creative ways. And that's a key part as well. It's much more interesting and creative than rather going, let's just throw another party.
Yeah.
Because anyone can have a party. It's an easy solution. Right?
Completely agree with you.
Yeah. And it's not authentic for the brand, right? You know, Tahona Society has carved out an authentic platform that really fits the brand, and it really works, you know. And so more brands looking internally and seeing what's authentic to them as a brand and what do they stand for as a brand, really questioning that and then using that to create some really awesome programs. I would love to see that.
Completely agree with you. Totally. Tim, this was amazing. I'm really thankful to have you here and that you shared like your precious time once again. For me, it was an honor, and I'm always really happy listening to you because you give really powerful advices. Totally. Again, I'm going to repeat myself, but guys, check out the Healthy Hospo website. Check out all their activations. Yeah, and thank you for letting us part of your story, brother.
Pleasure. It's always great to chat to you.
Hundreds of partners, truly. As me, you really. Another thing which sticks to my mind every time I'm flying. It just happened like when was it? Last week when I came back from a vinegar seminar. I'm dragging my luggage, and I'm like, okay, you can take the elevator, or are you gonna walk? And
always take the stairs.
You told me, hey man, like, why we are healthy, and I'm like, yeah, you're so true. Let's take the no shortcuts. So thank you for your advices.
Just a great way to build a little exercise into your day, right? You don't need to go, right, I need to find an hour to go for a run, or I need to find time to do that, but you can always find little moments where you can add in a little bit of exercise to your day. Yeah. And it has a long-term effect. If you look at the longest lived people in the world and the healthiest people in the world, they are all constantly active. They don't use escalators. They walk up mountains. Yep. They spend, walk kilometers every day, so the more active you can be on a daily basis, the better it's going to be for you for the long term.
Totally. Cut the unnecessary shit out of the life. Let's say like that. No, amazing. No, thank you so much. Hope I can see you.
Let's catch up soon for some tequila.
Exactly. In wherever we're going to be, hopefully we can.
I haven't been to Mexico for so long.
Yeah. Brother, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you so much.
And everyone out there, stay healthy as well. And get in touch if you need our support for anything. Totally. Please reach out. Healthy Hospo exists to help you, so please reach out if you need any help.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll love you to chat to you again.